We just got our hands on one of the world's first, a 24-60mm lens by Lumix. We're shooting it currently on the S1R2, and we've got this beautiful car to shoot tonight, as well as two extremely unique Supras. So I'm going to talk to you guys about why I think that Lumix made this lens, what I like about it, and what maybe could be changed. But overall, this is a really cool lens and sits in a very interesting spot. They also just launched the brand new S1 Mark II for video, which I'm using today, and you will see in this video. But I'm going to make my review, so you can go watch this video at the end. But we've got a lot of new stuff. I'm excited to shoot some cars with you guys. Let's go. So why did Lumix make this lens, and is it any good? This is the first of its kind. I don't believe there's any other focal range lens that has a 24-60. There is a 20-60 lens that Lumix makes for their kit lens, and actually it's pretty good. It's very cost effective, and it hits a lot of great focal ranges, which this lens does exactly the same. As someone who tends to be a prime shooter, I love the 24mm, 35mm, and 50mm. And if you need that reach from the 70, well, you kind of don't have it here, but you kind of do, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, because Lumix has baked in some incredible features into their cameras that allow this to essentially be 187mm and further. So we'll get to that in a little bit. In order to showcase what this lens is capable of, I got together with my good friend Travis from Project X60, and we filmed some beautiful cars. We've got the OG Supra from Fast and the Furious and the new G, is that what you call it? New G Supra if they redo it. I was creating some reels for Travis as he wrapped this car in his PPF, so I figured great opportunity to take the 24-60 out and test this out. But let's talk about some of the specs of this lens, which is why you're here. So as advertised, we have 24mm all the way up through 60mm. We don't have any lock switches like you might have on the Sigmas or the Sonys, but the tension is quite good. And when I had this on my gimbal and I went to spin it, it's actually quite tight and kind of moves the gimbal around. If you've ever done gimbal work, you know what I mean. So it's still pretty tight, and so I don't anticipate this loosening up or being easy to twist or come off of its mark really easy. They also have a built-in function button on here, which is really cool. And actually, I'm going to tell you guys how I set this up on my camera. It's really easy to set up, and you can change it to a bunch of different functions. So I use it differently in photo mode and video mode separately. Really cool. And then obviously they have the autofocus, manual focus switch. Something that's really cool that they built into this is the manual focus ring, which, wow, manual focus, great. Every camera has that, but you can also adjust this to be whatever you want in camera. So my buddy Josh Cameron, he told me he uses this for his aperture. So it actually feels like those cool manual aperture cameras. I use it just as a manual focus. I actually didn't change this one, but if you're someone who wants to change your ISO or your shutter speed or your aperture or your white balance, you can turn this manual focus dial ring into essentially a custom feature that fits your shooting style. Another physical part of the camera is that it is indeed weather sealed, which is to be expected if you're buying a lens in 2025 at this price point, which is really good. I'll get to it in a second, but it is weather sealed, which means that if you're taking this out with your Lumix cameras, you don't have to worry about this in the rain. Lumix does a great job of building in what's called dual phase linear motors, which means shooting with this is going to be really, really quiet. I don't really know how to explain what's going on in there because I'm not a Lumix engineer, but when I've seen the pictures of what they've built and put into this thing, it's pretty cool, and it is really silent, it's very fast and smooth to use, which is really all that matters. The other thing inside of this lens that you don't get to see is there's a new chip. It's an optical encoder. Again, I don't know what this means. I'm going to send you over to Josh's channel because he's a bit more of a nerd on this stuff. I just like to use these and see how they look, and if they look good to me, then I'm going to use it. I literally just made a video on the Sigma 24-70, so I'll link that up there for you. And I'm glad I didn't end up buying that because this is significantly cheaper and does all of the things that I need it to. So I just ran around and took some photos of the car with the 24-60. It's a really diverse lens on the S1R2, and with the hybrid zoom, it actually turns the 24-60 into a 24 to 250 something. So really impressive feature with the hybrid zoom. Essentially, the way this works is if you're shooting on the S1R2, for example, you have an 8K sensor. And if you're shooting in 4K, that means that you have a bunch of optical zoom range that you can use on that sensor to take this 60mm to something much farther. Now, when it comes to the photo side, depending how far you crop in, you're actually cropping into the sensor and turning it into a finer or smaller JPEG size. So be aware of that. You're still not getting the highest resolution. I changed the function button on my lens to be that hybrid zoom. So if I'm shooting in photo mode and I'm not quite getting enough reach out of that 60, I just press that function button and then I'm able to zoom in and kind of get that focal length that I can see in my mind. So I know I'm compromising a bit on the image quality, but depending on the sensor size, you're actually still getting a really sharp image. Also, can we just talk about this car for a second? This is essentially a Porsche GT4 convertible. It's the Spider, which is absolutely insane. So huge thank you to Porsche Center Calgary for lending me this car. So we just wrapped that shoot with Project X60 and those two incredible cars. Obviously you guys saw how awesome they are. I was shooting mostly vertical footage, but really interestingly, you have open gate, so I can still crop. I can still actually use some of that footage for 16:9 regular, which is actually a bit of a hack that I don't see a lot of people doing, is shooting vertical and then reusing it for horizontal, which is huge. Now that you can shoot in 6K, it's pretty epic. But that leads us into our second question, which is this lens any good? Now, the price point on this lens is $12.49 Canadian. So that's a pretty good steal, which means I'm saving a few $100s between this lens and the Sigma, for example. The truth is that the S series lenses, while they don't have a pro label, they are very, very good lenses and they are extremely sharp. And now you have sharp and versatile with the 24-60. I'm very pleased with this lens. I will be using this as my kind of go-to everyday lens. I was going to buy the 24-70 Sigma, but if it were me and I'm in the Lumix ecosystem, this is the one that I'm going to do, as it's cheaper. I can save a couple $100, and if you're in the US, this is a really cost-effective lens. Now, of course, because Lumix sent me the new S1 and the 24-60, this is technically sponsored by them, but they have not paid me anything and they have not told me to say anything. These are all my opinions, and I do just like getting out and using these and showing you guys what it looks like so that you can make your own opinions. Of course, do your due diligence. Even though I'm saying I like this lens, make sure you do all the checks and balances to make sure it's worth your hard-earned cash. We don't get paid to make these videos on YouTube, so I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope that you guys have found this educational, and I really do think you'd be happy with this lens at the end of the day. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel here. If you want to watch the S1 II video, you can see that there. And I do hope I'll see you in the next one. Peace.